All right, welcome into another week of Bankroll Blitz. I'm here with Josh and Bobby. Fellas, how's it going? I'll kick it to you first, Bobby. How was your week last week?
As soon as I bragged that I was 5-1 through the first 2 weeks, I went 1-2. But the player props through Twitter, I've had a lot of success the first 3 weeks with ladders, man. Just finding an edge on one line, then the derivatives of those lines end up paying off. So having fun with the ladders, staying away from touchdowns more than I used to last season. But other than that, it's been pretty good, man. Josh, what you got?
Similar story, actually, especially because you enlightened me to the tight ends on Monday night, both the Goddard and Higbee thing that I'm still talking about because I love that play so much, and it cashed nicely. And then, on this show, missed a touchdown prop again, but hit 2 or 3 on those other bets, including a nice teaser that paid out plus 150. So I'm probably going to be going back to the well on a few type of those types of plays here in week 3 because those have been my most consistent, including fading the Texans rush defense. That's going to be something that I finally go back to that we left J.K. Dobbins on that in week 1. He's out for the season, I know, but we'll be going back to that one today.
I hate betting right now. I went 0-3 on this show last week, and the Ravens were a terrible stinker. My wide receivers both missed by like 3 yards, but I did hit a same game parlay for plus 390 and hit an alt line for plus 320. So I did make money. I actually made more money on those, but it was just so frustrating. It was pretty terrible. But like I said, I told you guys, I think I was playing a little safe, like taking the safer angles. Instead of just kind of like going with my normal mojo and my normal flow. I know that Matt's having some connectivity issues, so we'll go through our picks. If he's able to join us back, he does. If not, we're going to just roll it with the boys. I'm going to start with my first pick. I'm going Dolphins at Bills over 53.5 points. Probably would have been smart to get this earlier, but this is just 2 high-quality offenses. It's going to be a back-and-forth battle. I really do love what McDaniel's doing, but what's funny is McDaniel is adding in some concepts like motion concepts that are being adopted across the league, but Buffalo kind of already had a little wrinkle of that with Stephon Diggs bringing him off the edge there. I think that they're just 2 offenses that are going to be hard to cover. I would have this probably ending like close to 60 points. That's just my first play. I think it's going to be like something like 30 something. Weather's good. This could be like a battle for the division. I'm so excited.
I saw some obscure stat on Twitter this morning. It was like teams that won by 40 or more are like 1-6-3 or something the following week. Like it was just something obscure, but something to keep in mind with Miami. Buffalo already dropped one divisional game so far this season. Obviously, you're going with the total. I think it's be back and forth. I'm interested to see who comes out on top. These are 2 of the top 3 teams in the AFC, definitely in the AFC. So I'm hoping for fireworks. Every sports better with an over is hoping for fireworks.
Yes,
totally. I mean, the over is a smart player. I got a little bit scared last week when that Vikings and Chargers game didn't go over 52.
Oh my god,
on it. That one scared me a little bit. This is a different beast. But I would agree. The only thing that I would say about the side rather is I can see both ways for this one in terms of how this game ends. And for me, I've been a fan of Buffalo. I took them last week against Washington, despite some other maybe like more intelligent people saying the opposite. I was just like, what I've seen from Buffalo is that they are definitely a top 3 team in the AFC, and that they should be treated as such. The game against the Jets, I really just own up to a complete fluke in terms of just a bad situation and running the energy is high for the Jets at that point. So my thing is, if you get the Bills at 2.5, which I think it's dropping, I feel comfortable with that. But if you were also like, I got the at the 3-point spread, I'm going to tease it up to 9 and take the Dolphins, I wouldn't tell you not to either, because I do think this game is going to be pretty close, like the last 3 have been, even if it is a high scoring affair. And I think it will be. So I would ride with you on this one, Brad.
Yeah, what's funny is I was going to tease the Dolphins, but I just think when the Dolphins lose, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be one of those where everyone's like ready to rag on Tua and call him out. Go ahead and give me your play, Josh.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm going to start off talking about Let It Ride and Mr. Russell Wilson, Danger Russ. let's ride with him. 232.5 is his passing yards. Like, I think he's now a 250-yard a game quarterback. He's at 264 on the season. I don't think anybody wants to watch this game. I don't plan on watching Bears and Broncos, but I am going to bet on Russ to go over his I think just too small of a passing prop here. Like I said, 232.5. Whatever you need to know about the Bears defense, like, I think we know it. I don't think there's much that is surprising people who were just fading the crap out of them like I have been since the preseason. At this point, the third most passing yards allowed. They've allowed all three quarterbacks to go over this prop relatively comfortably. Jordan Love only got 245, but still over this prop, obviously. 8.6 yards gained per pass attempt. That's awful. Good for second worst behind the Broncos because they had to play the Dolphins. And if you look at all the worst defensive metrics for both these teams, like, they're both 1 and 2 in terms of most everything given up all the time. Do whatever you want with the type of touchdown that you want from wherever you want on the field as well, because we'll let you in from the red zone. We'll let you in from 70 yards out. We've given up 3 of those plays, so or like 50 yarders. But yeah, I think this is a pretty easy spot. I think Russ's passing prop is going to continue to go up. He's hit this number every time. He's increased everything that we thought he would with Sean Payton as his quarterback and not Nathaniel Hackett. He's got the 7th best QBR, 65.5% completions percentage versus 60% last season, up to 264 yards per game. And they've had a negative game script, so that's definitely not going to be necessarily in their favor. I think it'll be a little bit more neutral. But they did have a neutral game script for most of that first game and a good portion of the first half of that second game that they ended up blowing. So I think either way, even in a neutral game script, that you can see the Broncos get these passing yards up.
Yeah. No, this was on my short list. Guy hits it in 2 straight weeks. His wide receiver trio looks damn good. I mean, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy's back 2 games, started to come alive, even though it was, prevent defense time, and then Denzel Mims. So I think Peyton has something to prove. I think this whole team has something to prove. And this number seems very, very beatable for Russell Wilson, who I'm not trying to be the hot take guy. I think he's playing for his job. I think Sean Payton has no loyalty to him and would not be shocked if he doesn't finish the season as the Denver Broncos quarterback, if he doesn't show something over the next few weeks. So I like it.
I'll be at this game. I hope I hope we see fireworks. Two pretty underwhelming teams so far. Bobby, what's your next play, man?
I'm going to go back to that Buffalo-Miami game, and I'm getting back to the player props after going 1-2 last week on my sides and totals. Josh Allen got a really good number at 33.5 over on the rushing yards. It's -110 on Bet365. This is 35.5 on FanDuel. Always make sure you shop around. At home last season, he hit this line in 5 of 8, including 10 carries, 77 yards against Miami. He also hit this line against Miami on the road last year. He went 8 for 47. Yes, James Cook has a bigger role this season. They're peppering in a little Damian Harris, peppering in a little Latavius Murray. I think this is going to be a shootout like we're talking about. Those are the situations where you send people deep. It's 2 minutes before half. You start picking up those first down yards. You get into field goal range. So Allen's career rushing averages against the AFC East, 7.2 attempts per game, 46 yards per game, 6.4 yards per rush, and 12 touchdowns. We'll talk about more of that later. But I don't think Allen is losing this game, especially after blowing a divisional game in week 1. They need this. This matters. I see Allen putting on a Josh Allen-like performance, and we get 33.5. So going over on the rushing yards for Allen.
I like that. I think it's going to be an Allen like masterclass. If it's not, he's going to do his best to kind of make it as close or as likely for them to win as possible. I'll go with my next one. I'm going to go with a teaser. I'm back to teasing the Ravens again. Getting Ravens +9, and then Bengals +3.5. I'm just not ready to count the Bengals out. They had a quality win. The Browns look great, right? The Browns, every metric you want to talk about defensively, they have it. But I just think this Ravens team, after a sour performance, comes out really strong. I was going to take Ravens +3 as my bet, but that line's kind of moved down to the +2.5 spot. And then with the Bengals, like if the Bengals lose by double digits to the Titans, it's time to shut Joe Burrow down. It's one of those things that I was really excited to see the Bengals get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think they'll be able to pressure Tannehill. I actually have my touchdown plays from this game, but yeah, go ahead and give me this teaser. I'm actually really excited. I'm more excited about this teaser because it's not as chalky as last week's. But I really like both of these teams.
What do you do with that, Bobby?
I like it. I definitely would ride. What do you got, Josh?
My thing about the Titans is, I mean, they looked bad last week. I think they're in a similar position of like they don't have anybody to go to if Ryan Tannehill is not going to be their quarterback moving forward. That's probably why he might have a little bit more safety to his job. I'm a bit scared of the Bengals partly because of what I saw on Monday night as well with the Rams, where I think McVay and Stafford together, hand in hand, lost that game more than anybody won it. The thing that I keep looking back to with the Rams is like they can eat up yardage between the 20s. Got the third most there, total yards. They're playing at and they've got the second most first downs as well. So they just keep eating up those yards between the 20s. Like I said, the defense has limited its opponents to the 8th fewest first downs as well. So I was really looking at this game hard because what I'm getting at here with all that stuff with the Rams is like they showed that against the Bengals. I think you can get yardage against the Bengals. I think we're riding a little bit high on them because they got their first win. And in reality, like the Titans might be a little bit more of a value play because of the fact that we're so down on them after scoring 3 points. There's some also pretty kind of fluky stats that I might be riding too high with, which is like a team that scores 3 points one week, the next week comes back and is like covers the spread at a pretty high percentage. But that's happened like 10 times in the last 4 seasons. So it's not that big of a sample.
Well, let me ask you. So you're willing to lay Titans -3.5? That's what the question is.
Right. No, at the 3.5, no, I was really waiting for that to come down. I really thought it would. I think a lot of people would probably feel better about the Bengals because of all the stuff I said about maybe a little bit over.
That's why I ended up teasing it. I think the Bengals win this one in a close one, but I don't want to tease the Titans up just in case it's one of those performances. We know about the Titans in their terrible pass defense. If Jamar Chase, we could have just seen a sample of what he's ready for. Like he had 134 yards last week. He could be due for one of those 200 yards.
Touchdown list, bro.
Yeah, still touchdown list. Give me your next play.
Let me.
AJ
Brown.
My
Dude.
God.
Yeah, I did a fantasy episode on a different podcast recently that was kind of like, who are fantasy owners the maddest at? Like AJ Brown owners or Jamar Chase owners. At least he had the big breakout week. But yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to go to a game that, I mean, I think I'm going to be watching this game. It's the afternoon game talking about the Pats and the Cowboys. And I'm looking at Ramondre Stevenson. I really want to put together like a revenge thing. So I'm just going to talk about it real quick, like where I wanted to get a little like Adam Thielen versus the Vikings and like Zeke Elliott versus the Cowboys kind of like revenge narrative parlay. So I'm probably going to figure that out, but I'm just going to stick with a player prop from this one with Ramondre Stevenson going over 52.5. I wanted to rushing yards specifically. I wanted to see what Zeke's were at. He still doesn't have yardage props that I found. If you guys see those, let me know. But I really wanted to go. I thought I was going to see like a Zeke prop open at like 27, 32.5 or something like that, right in that range. And I'd be like, great, like I'll take the over because I do think the snap share is going to go a little bit closer to what we saw in the Jets game versus the first 2 games where Ramondre had over 71% of the snaps. In that third game, he went down to 64%. Zeke went all the way up to 34.5%. In that game, and he's been below 30 for the first 2. So, by the way, though, this is a Ramondre Stevenson prop, and I'm talking about the snap count going down. It didn't matter. He had 19 rushes last game. He only had 59 yards, which still got him over the 58.5 that I liked there, barely. Squeaked over, but I still think he's good for more than 52 in this one if he's going to continue. And I do think he's going to continue to get at least 15 carries every game, which will continue to probably be good for roughly like a 65% snap count. They're running the second most plays in the league right now are the Patriots. They're playing at the second fastest pace of play. And the Cowboys are also playing pretty fast. Both these teams are really good against the run, run the ball well. The Cowboys are not good against the run. That's the only area of the field that they're not good. You have to run the ball against them as we've seen because you're not going to. I mean, James Conner was a huge reason. And Joshua Dobbs, by the way, running was a huge reason last week that the Cowboys did lose the way that they did. And I think, Dallas giving up the second most yards per rush, 7th most yards overall, and the second fewest passing yards, just to illustrate my previous point that you cannot pass on them. You can, even with Trayvon Diggs out, I still think that the pass rush is so vicious. You continue to have problems passing against them. The Pats, the only reason that they didn't run the ball as much in the first 2 games is they had to pass it against the Eagles and against the Dolphins. They could not afford to just sit back on their laurels and be like, well, we'll rush the ball and figure it out. They had to pass. the third game of the season against the Jets did not have to pass, and that run pass ratio went all the way down to 47% pass and 53% run, way different than it was in the first two games. They're going to have that same game script for this game. So if Ramondre is getting 17 carries, I still like him to get over 52.
That would just, that's fine. I'm just afraid of the Ezekiel Elliott revenge area, like just coming in and snatching up some of those runs just because he's playing his old team. But
I think we definitely see Zeke in some red zone situations. They're going to try to get him one. I remember I had Clay Harbor on my show 2 weeks ago. He was saying when a guy's playing another team, there's a conscious effort. There's like, hey, we're going to try to get him one against his old team. It builds team camaraderie. I think Zeke gets the short yardage stuff, but like you said, between the 20s, it's Ramondre's world.
Yeah, Zeke TD doesn't feel bad at all. Like I said, maybe a little.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All right, go ahead, Bobby.
Gonna go to this Colts Ram game, and it's not gonna be a pro Rams look. I like Samson Ebukam. He's an edge rusher for the Indianapolis Colts. It's for him to get over 0.25. It's a half a sack. It's plus 130 on DraftKings. It is plus 135 on Bet365, but that's for him to get a full sack. So I like the half a sack because he can get it in tandem. Now the numbers: 2 sacks in 3 games, 2 sacks in the last 2 games. The Rams, they have question marks at left tackle with Alaric Jackson, their starting left tackle. He's played well. He's not practicing this week. He didn't practice on Wednesday. Joe Noteboom was their right guard. They're going to bring him back to left tackle on short notice. He has not fared well there. Ebukam, 8 total pressures in 3 games, 7 over the last 2. McVay, like you said, Josh, he lost that game. He got way too pass happy. Now, he may overcorrect this week and try to go run dominant, but the total set at 46.5. I don't think it's going to be a low scoring game. They're gonna continue to go up pace. They are one of the highest paced teams in the league, similar to Dallas. I like this at plus money odds. I like that it's only half a sack. And for those who don't know, Samson Ebukam is a former Ram, so there's a slight bit of revenge factor. Getting good value on a guy with playing a weak left tackle, playing a team that is weak at the offensive line. Let me ride the Ebukam wave.
I love it.
A lot of sacks in that game.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the revenge stuff. There is a really cool website that's sort of in beta, but it's called revengestats.com. We might start to need to start looking at that a little bit more too, because we love these narratives.
Dude, I know there's a Twitter page that has a pretty good one. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but I look at their revenge angles. They're really fun. Yeah. I actually like them better for basketball because I feel like
the players are petty.
Yeah, they're petty. The individual result is much easier to control. I'm gonna go with my last play. Bobby kind of didn't have a Homer centric play, but I do. Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5. Saints have looked great, but I don't think this Saints team, especially without Carr, is going to be a team that's going to be able to pull away from this Bucs defense. I was really impressed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And without even looking at the numbers, just what we saw on the field, they gave the Eagles fits at times. Picked Jalen Hurts off, 2 times? Made the Eagles work for what they had to do. Their defensive line was pretty solid, pretty stout. Of course, obviously the Eagles line up better on their offensive line versus the Buccaneers defensive line. But then when we talk about the offense, I think, man, I don't like these words are hard to come out of my mouth because I don't want to say them, but I think Baker's better than I thought he was going to be. Even though he threw a pick last week, he threw it in the rain. I could forgive that interception. They did get stifled in the second half until that pointless touchdown drive that kind of cost me a 10-1. But I like the Bucs to actually win outright, so I'm just going to take the points at plus 3.5.
Yeah. No, I mean they're going to get a better performance out of Rachaad White this weekend, and if you get the run game going, sure. Baker gets even better if you have a run game and he can work out of the play action, get outside of the pocket a little bit, because he has looked good. He has the weapons to look good. Jameis Winston being the big X factor here. Josh, I think this is the Juwan Johnson week. If you were to throw Juwan Johnson in a touchdown parlay, I do think it's going to be week 4 with his boy Jameis.
with famous Jameis in there, yeah.
How many picks does Jameis throw this week? He's good for at least.
The only reason I'd be scared, Brad, is short week, coming off the Monday night. But other than that, I mean, you're getting the points, so it's not that bad.
if Mike Evans, geez, I want to call him Vincent Jackson. I had Vincent Jackson.
Wow, nice.
Mike Evans. What's
That was
wrong?
impressive.
What's going on in my brain?
I think it's because you want Mike Evans to get a bag because they paid Vincent Jackson but didn't pay Mike Evans.
Right. That's a good point. But then he dropped 3 freaking balls that he should have caught. Big time, dude. Big time.
Bad drops, bad drops. Oh my god.
Not as bad as AJ Brown because Mike Evans wasn't tweeting before the game. So when he dropped balls, it wasn't the same as when AJ Brown dropped balls in the end zone. But my lord, man. I mean, he made an insanely nice catch to almost
make up for it
with one hand, but almost make up for it because it's too late. So yeah, that was tough. But my point there is Baker, not bad. Baker would have had way better numbers if Mike Evans caught a few more balls. So I'd like this pick a lot more, especially without Derek Carr in there for sure. So 3.5 is too many. It easily could be a 3-point win for the Saints. I wouldn't be shocked if Jameis comes out there and has 5 interceptions and 5 touchdowns. Both could be plausible scenarios, but it's gonna be a pretty fun game with Jameis in there. I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. Let me throw my teaser out there, and basically I did this twice, so I'll just be totally transparent. Either way, I want Philly and Dallas in a teaser. Those are my 2 games that I really wanted to put together, but I just wanted better than -120, and I think I can get a third game in there. And my third game, my first choice here was KC. KC just doesn't cover. And there is a little bit of sharp money, it seems like, coming in on the Jets if you can get them at 10, which I think it's mostly 9.5s right now. But if you can get them at 10, I think sharp people are finding the Jets at 10 and taking them is what I'm gathering, at least from my weak ass metrics. But it's either the Chiefs down to -3.5, or like I was saying, I might just ride with the Dolphins plus 9.5 if you can take that, because I can see that game going both ways. I think Buffalo wins, but I think it stays close. That's my prediction for that game. So for all 3 of these, though, I'm going to continue to lean into my anti-Washington stance that I took last week as well, where I was like, I might be crazy, but there's a bigger disparity between these 2 teams. I don't care where they're playing. Don't give me this Commanders FedEx Field or whatever home field stuff. I don't care about that. And the same thing kind of goes this week. Philadelphia at home. I believe in that. Although their fans are just as liable to turn on the Eagles as they are the Commanders at times. I do think this is going to be one where what we saw last year from the Commanders playing them tough was a different catch them by surprise, run the ball well against them, and that's not what you're going to be able to do anymore. That's the only thing they can do. If they can't run the ball and it's now in Sam Howell's hands, that's scary. This is going to sound weird, but the Commanders' combined separation per route for all their wide receivers is tops in the league. Number 1, helped by Curtis Samuel, who averages 4 yards of separation per route run, and has a 98% catch rate this season. So that's helpful to those metrics, but Sam Howell still isn't hitting dudes, and they're open. So if he has to throw the ball, it doesn't matter. Even though the Eagles have given up a few pass yards, I'm not worried about that. For Dallas, it's this feels ripe for me for them to come in. Mac Jones, I just don't think is good. If I could just be perfectly honest, I just don't think he's a good quarterback. I know he's had some tough games, but it's when do we stop making excuses for him with weather and defenses being good? It's the NFL, man. You got to play quarterback well, and he just doesn't do it. He just misses, and he'll have a random 300-yard game here in the near future, but it ain't going to be this one against Dallas in that pass D. So get him down to half a point. KC, look, man, Zach Wilson, if you could set his passing yards at 115, I'd be I don't know, understand, kind of sounds nice. Even though he's an NFL quarterback, so I'm just never going to worry about a team that the Chiefs defense is for real. We know that their offense still isn't clicking. It might have a little bit of trouble against Zach Wilson, and maybe you don't like 10 points for them, which I really don't. I don't almost like the Chiefs to cover 10 points because they don't do that, except for against the Bears. But this defense will be able to keep it a little bit close, not 4 points close. If you like the Dolphins and to tease them up instead of this one for anybody, I would agree with that as well. These games are always going to be within 9 points for the Dolphins and the Bills, in my opinion.
I had my best friend is a Jets fan. I'm in a group chat with 3 other Jets fans, and someone sent a text this week, said he just highlighted Kansas City -8.5. He's like, "Do you guys want to empty our savings and put it on the Chiefs money line or something?" And I was like, I got some equity in my house. My other friend's like, my 401k is not doing too well. Why don't I cash that in?
Good way to bump it up then.
It is bleak. But no, man, I'm riding with you. If you get that down to 4.5, what was it, 4.5? I think that's
3.5.
3.5. Yeah, I like it.
Cool.
Yeah, I almost teased the Chiefs, man. Like, it's not even like the fact that, Zach Wilson's so bad. I just think the Chiefs are going to get so much pressure to make it even worse. Like, I think this might be the last straw. When I mean the last straw is like, this is the game where they're like, we're too good to tank. We have to find an answer at quarterback.
Dude, if Robert Saleh plays Zach Wilson after this week, I think we're going to see him tied to his own chair in his own office by his own players who will take him hostage and be like, we're commandeering this ship. This is mutiny, and we're no longer letting Zach Wilson play quarterback. You sit in this chair and watch us do it. They're not going to have it.
And then you bring in Carson Wentz. Still don't understand how Carson Wentz hasn't gotten a phone call.
It's Trevor Siemian, right?
Trevor Siemian. Yeah. Oh my God. Whatever. Let me close out with my last player prop. Dameon Pierce, Houston Texans running back. 47.5 is the rushing total. Going over at -110. It's on Bet365. Pierce isn't the guy we saw last year. Houston isn't moving away from him, though. In fact, they've increased his workload. He went 15 carries and 14 carries in the last 2 weeks. Steelers ranked 29th in rushing yards per attempt. And I look at can we figure out why Dameon Pierce hasn't been playing? He's like 2.5 yards per carry. His previous 3 opponents, Jacksonville, Baltimore, and Indy, are all top 13 in opposing rushing yards per attempt. So he finally gets a break this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do think he's going to be in that 14 to 16 carry range. And the Steelers offensively, I don't see them pulling away. I don't think it's going to be a 2-score game. And Stroud's gaining buzz as a true pocket passer. They are praising him on every daily show about he's going through his progressions. He looks the part. So these stacked boxes may be coming to an end in Houston. As far as this line, he hit it in 69% of games last season. Nice. I know it's been a rough start. Give me Pierce over 47.5 against the Steelers defense.
There's going to be a point this season to start riding with him, right? And just whenever you want to choose it, because I agree the reason CJ Stroud's sort of people not trusting him and saying, go ahead, you beat us, is a huge reason for the game script that the Texans have shown. I mean, wouldn't you say, Brad?
Yeah, I think so too. Stroud is, I think what's really important is we've talked about fading the Steelers against the run pretty much all season. I just want to know, like, I don't know if I've dug deep enough into his advanced metrics, like, for me to know, like, this is probably not outside of my realm to give an educated conversation on Dameon Pierce rushing yards. But from a fantasy owner, I really hope he has a great week because I drafted him a lot because I was expecting big things from this season.
No, I mean, this comes down. He's going to have to average to hit this line with 14 to 16 attempts. He's probably going to have to average 3.6, 3.7 yards per carry. He doesn't need to be otherworldly. And again, I don't think we're going to see a negative game script here. I think Steelers are giving 3 on the road. I mean, it screams Houston coming off a win. Let's see if they can build some momentum here. But I mean, it's under 50. They're going to try to keep it close. They're not going to burden Stroud, I think, right out of the gate. So the volume and what he needs to hit this line seem very, very manageable. So go with the Pierce over 47.5.
Let's ride with our touchdown parlay. I'm going to kick things off with Jamar Chase plus 130. Before I get into my breakdown, I just want to remind everyone who is watching on YouTube and listening in podcast form, go to our Twitter page at Bankroll Blitz, like, retweet, and follow, and we will give away the earnings. I'm going Jamar Chase. Hasn't scored yet. It is happening. The Titans allowing 1.4 touchdowns to wide receivers per game. And last season it was like 1.8. Pretty much they want to stop the run at all costs, which is going to kind of lead to more red zone targets too for Jamar Chase. He is scoring. And what's funny is I actually think this situation is easier for him to score, and his price is better this week than last.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, he's going to have to score.
I don't keep betting it until what I think I might do. So I bet it last week. I bet it this week. I think I'm going to actually put 2 units on him to score. And if he doesn't score this week, I'm putting 3 units on him next week. He's eventually breaking through.
Go. But dude, the Titans, like Amari Cooper just looked like, like Amari Cooper, he had an even more inflated stat line if the referee didn't call him out of bounds, dude. So I think the number 1 wide receiver playing the Titans is a good bet.
Yeah. I mean, everyone in this chat right now is too good of a handicapper to say he's due, but fuck it, he's due. Like he's due. It's not a line that handicappers like to use. It's not a metric. He's due.
Only because the same logic could always be used where we're like, we're following trends here. But when you like see a trend that goes against what you like, you're like, fuck it, he's due. And that trumps everything. Who do you got, Bobby? I know you foreshadowed him.
I'm going with Josh Allen. I found it at plus 120. It's plus 100 on certain books. Like I said, 12 career touchdowns against the AFC East. That's the most of any in his career. This game, they need to win. They cannot drop two divisional games. I know that Latavius Murray picked up some garbage touchdown, took one away from James Cook. Josh Allen gets in. Give me Josh Allen at plus 120.
All right, I'll close it out. Look, I'm 1 for 3 on the tutties this year. The first one, I haven't hit one since week 1. That was J.K. Dobbins. I took him because he was playing the Texans rush defense. We didn't know if they were going to get any better on defense with D'Amico Ryans, but they did, just not against the run. It was against the pass that they got a little bit better. So they're still awful. That's why Khalil Herbert is my pick for this one. You can get him at plus 185. I just took a Bears player to do something positive on offense, I know. And I just took a Bears player who has 23 carries and 93 yards as the RB1 allegedly on this team. I know that all of those things. But the only team that's as bad on defense as the Bears right now is the Denver Broncos. And that's who they're playing. So, I mean, if Khalil Herbert was going against his own defense, I'd pick him. He's going against a really bad defense, so I'm going to pick him. Plus 185 is a pretty good number for the RB1 against this Broncos team. Like, I want to throw the stats at you. I think they are a little bit less meaningful than people might want to use them in terms of how bad the Bears have been against everything, and especially or the Broncos rather against the rush, because we just saw 2 running backs combined for 8 total touchdowns against them. Devon Achane, right? Achane, I think that's how he's saying it's pronounced. Is now like RB like 6 or something in fantasy and he's played 1 game out of 3. So like, yeah, like they're going to be bloated as hell, but like, it's real that they can't stop the run. It's real that they're going to allow you in around the goal line and he's going to get any kind of goal line carries you can imagine. And so, yeah, I mean, Fields rushing, probably a good idea. I think you'd continue to do that if he's going to have 11 rushes again and Khalil Herbert, they should have a pretty run heavy script once again. The Broncos are allowing 30 more yards a game than anybody else rushing wise. And the Bengals were awful through the first 2 games against the run before stopping Kyron Williams a bit. So I think it's a pretty like safe place anyway to go ahead and fade this team with Khalil.
Yeah, I like that. The estimated odds are probably like 13-1 for Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, and Khalil Herbert. I think that's going to put a bow on this. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you ring the bell. Subscribe, drop a comment of your favorite play. If you're listening in podcast form, rate and subscribe. For Bobby and for Josh, I'm Brad. Best of luck this week.